Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into something today that feels, well, both ancient and weirdly connected to our lives right now.
Uh-huh.
Think about one of the most basic tools in human history, the axe.
Right. Simple, effective.
It chopped wood, built shelters, cleared land. Pretty straightforward stuff, you'd think.
Yeah, but what if it did more?
Exactly. What if a tool like that didn't just shape, wood and stone, but maybe shaped something as fundamental as language itself?
That's the core idea we're exploring, isn't it? This potential link.
It is. This deep dive looks at a theory connecting an ancient double-headed axe, the Labrys, the shape of the letter K, and a linguistic framework called the Odam theory.
Quite a mouthful, but fascinating when you break it down.
And we're drawing our insights today from an article draft. It's titled Labrys K and Language Origins, an Odam theory.
So we're digging into that specific argument.
Yep. Our mission is really to explore how this article connects the dots, how a vital tool, the sound it made, even the shape you see when using it, how these could all be tangled up in the origins of speech and maybe even writing.
Okay. So where do we start? The tool itself.
Let's start there. The Labrys, this double-headed axe, it shows up in ancient cultures like the Minoans, maybe the Lydians. That's where the name comes from.
But before it was a specific symbol, it was just a heavy axe, a tool people absolutely needed.
Right, it was about survival, pure and simple. The article really stresses this fundamental role.
Think about it. Core needs: fire, warmth, cooking, keeping predators away.
Fire needs wood, shelter needs wood.
Clearing land, even for basic farming, needed axes. Hunting tools were often wood. The source puts it very bluntly. Wood was life.
Wood was life. That really hits home, doesn't it? It grounds how vital this tool was.
Absolutely. And using a heavy axe like that, it's not passive, it's work.
It's dynamic, rhythmic, forceful, a repetitive action day in, day out for many people.
Exactly. A core interaction with their world. And importantly, that interaction came with a very specific sensory package. Sound, sight.
Which brings us neatly to the sound. What kind of sound does a heavy axe make, chopping wood over and over?
Well, the source talks about this auditory fingerprint. Each hit, each powerful strike, it creates a sharp, clean burst of sound.
Like a K or K sound.
Yeah, a definite plosive sound as the blade bites in, maybe followed by the crackle of the wood splitting. Imagine hearing that constantly, with the rhythm of the swings.
Curse, 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 like a repeated beat.
Exactly, you can almost hear that rhythm and impact now.
And the theory isn't just that this was background noise.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
The idea is this consistent, repetitive sound directly tied to a critical survival action. Well, it could have been a natural starting point for sound symbol formation.
A sound that starts to mean something because it's so strongly linked to the action and the tool?
Precisely. A sort of natural cue.
But it wasn't just the sound, was it? The source points to something visual, too, something about the shape.
Right, this is where it gets visually quite striking.
Yeah.
Shape. The theory looks at the specific posture when you strike a double-headed axe, like the Labrys, vertically into a tree trunk,
Okay, picture that. The tree is upright, a vertical line.
and the axe head is driven into the wood.
But because it's double-headed, one blade is stuck in the tree, right?
And the other blade is sticking out, usually angled kind of upwards.
Ah, wait, I think I see it. So the vertical tree, that's like the spine.
Yes.
The embedded blade pointing down, that's like the lower leg of a K.
And the free blade pointing up.
The upper arm of the K. Wow. Okay. Seen from the side, that whole action, tree, and axe, it really does look like a capital K.
It's quite an observation, and the source suggests this isn't just a coincidence. It could be an ancient kind of cognitive mapping.
Taking a pattern you see during a crucial everyday activity, axe hitting wood, and linking it not just to the sound, but also to a visual sign.
Sound, shape, action, tool, all getting bundled together in the mind.
Okay, so this feels like a good point to bring in the theoretical framework the article uses, the Odam theory.
Right. The article translates Odam as something like human tongue theory.
So what's the main idea? Where does this theory say language actually comes from?
Well, its core idea is that early human language didn't just sort of pop into existence from abstract thought or random names.
Okay.
Instead, it argues that language grew out of our physical interactions with the world. The actions we performed, the sounds around us, the things we felt.
So words and sounds weren't arbitrary at first. They were connected to life.
Exactly. Rooted in the rhythms, the noises, the sensations of surviving. Language wasn't just describing the world, it was, in a way, an extension of interacting with it initially.
That makes a certain kind of sense.
And if you think about chopping wood with an axe, like the Labrys, that action checks all the boxes, doesn't it? Essential for survival, happened all the time, very distinct sensory experience. It left a deep mark, mentally and maybe even culturally.
Right. Which brings us back to how the Odom-Tilley theory connects all these pieces. The axe, the sound, the shape.
Yeah, the theory proposes this kind of evolutionary path. The specific repeated sound of chopping, that Coors sound, gets mentally linked to the action and the tool.
And the visual form that appears during the action, the K shape, becomes a potential visual symbol linked to it all.
Sound, shape, survival action, all intertwined, forming what this source calls primitive linguistic roots.
So it's not just about naming the axe, it's the sound and the shape of the action itself maybe seeding parts of language.
That's the idea, and the article points to a possible echo of this later on.
Oh, what's that?
And mentions this hypothesis that in many Indo-European languages, you find root words for actions like cutting, hitting, or striking that often start with a K or a hard C sound.
Huh. So that could be like a linguistic fossil, a faint trace of that ancient link between the sound of cutting and the concept.
Possibly. It's a supporting argument, suggesting these deep roots might still be faintly visible in our vocabulary today.
That's a really compelling layer. It makes it feel less abstract.
And the story doesn't stop there with just the practical origins. Both the tool, the Labrys, and the letter K went on to become powerful symbols in their own right.
True. The Labrys became really important in Minoan culture, didn't it? A sacred symbol.
Yeah, representing things like strength, maybe duality, life-giving power, complex stuff.
And the letter K itself. Even after becoming just part of an alphabet, it carries certain connotations.
It does. It appears early in alphabets like Proto-Semitic and Greek. And sometimes people describe its sound or character as sharp, decisive.
Like it cuts through things.
Exactly. Associated conceptually with clarity or separation, which, you have to admit, echoes the action of the axe it might have originally represented visually.
So what this source lays out is this incredible journey. A basic survival tool, the noise it makes, the shape you see when using it, maybe influencing the very building blocks of language and writing.
And then those elements evolve into the symbols with deep cultural meaning. It's a path from the purely practical to the profoundly abstract.
It really makes you reconsider the origins of things we just take for granted, like a letter on a page or a simple sound.
It challenges the idea that everything is just arbitrary.
So, wrapping this up, what's the main takeaway from this deep dive into the article?
I think it's this powerful illustration, even if it's theoretical, of the Odam-Tilley idea, that there could be this ancient fundamental link between a physical act of survival, chopping wood, the sounds it made, curs, the shapes involved, like a K.
And that this whole bundle might echo in the very roots of how we communicate.
Yeah, it's a specific example of a potentially much broader principle.
So maybe the next time you hear someone chopping wood, or even just write the letter K, pause for a second.
Now think about that potential connection, stretching way back.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. If this one example, the Labrys, the K sound, the shape, could hold such a story, how many other sounds or symbols that seem abstract to us now?
How many might actually trace their origins back to the fundamental actions, the rhythms, the raw experiences of our earliest ancestors just trying to make their way in the world? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?